Welcome to the Freedom Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Duggar. Now, have you ever felt that you've hit rock bottom, or do you know someone else who has felt that way? Well, my guest today found that rock bottom had a basement, but he's come back out from that, and he is now the uh, co-host of Next Level University, the CFO and founder of a global top 100 self improvement podcast with more than 1,250 episodes and over 750,000 listens in over 150 countries. Kevin Palmieri as our guest today, and we're going to get into his story a little bit more in detail to talk a little bit about that rock bottom and climbing back out of that space as well as we get into this conversation. So, Kevin, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure, Zach. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I am excited to chat and see where we go.
Absolutely. Now, first thing I forgot to ask before starting this conversation, I don't want people to have it in their heads incorrectly. Last name. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, Palmieri. You crushed
All
it.
right. Perfect. All right. Now we got that settled. Let's get into the conversation. Now, when we talk about rock bottom, people often think about that being a place at which they're in desperation and they're at a point where they don't know where to go. But you also hear the only way to go from there is up.
Mm.
Let's talk just a little bit about your story, your experience before that, where outwardly people would not have necessarily seen that inwardly you're feeling the way you did.
Yeah, it's interesting. The reason I phrase it as I found, not only did I find rock bottom, but I found out that rock bottom had a basement.
Yeah.
I hit rock bottom when I was 25. So 25 years old, I had just won a bodybuilding show. So I was in the best shape ever that I've ever
Yeah.
been in my entire life.
Excellent.
My girlfriend was a model, so I had that, like, very beautiful girlfriend, awesome.
Hmm.
I had a sports car, I had a high-paying job, I had a new apartment, all the things that you could
Yeah.
ever want, Zach, I had them all.
Yeah.
But my girlfriend
Checking the
ended up
boxes.
yeah, I checked them all off. And my girlfriend ended up leaving me because the boxes that I wasn't checking was confident, secure,
Yeah.
supportive. I wasn't a very supportive partner because I was struggling to fill my own cup because I was depressed and I was anxious and I was dealing with my own
Sure.
stuff. So my
Yeah.
girlfriend ends up leaving me. Now I
Okay.
live in this new apartment all by myself. My bills just effectively have doubled and work,
Yep.
unfortunately, has slowed down. So things are not great for me. So
Okay.
I'm sitting in this apartment by myself and I start questioning things like, who could possibly love this version of Kevin? What do I need to do to fix how
Yep.
I feel about myself? That's where I started. Unfortunately, I assumed that, you know what, that self improvement, personal development stuff, that'll come. I need to make more money. If I make more
Yep.
money, all these problems are going to go away. So
Sure.
I started climbing out of rock bottom by saying, okay, I'm going to make the most money I've ever made in my entire life.
All
And
right.
the next year, I made the most money I'd ever made in my entire life.
Yep.
But nothing, to your point originally, nothing internally changed.
Yes.
Externally, the bank account was good. That was all there, but my internal state of insecurity, of fear, of scarcity, and my external state of what looked like abundance, what looked like confidence, what
Yep.
looked like fulfillment, they were just so drastically different. So
Yeah.
I ended up starting a podcast. At the time, it was called the Hyperconscious Podcast.
Okay.
I fell in love with podcasting. I
Yep.
am falling out of love with my job very, very, very quickly.
Sure.
And my rock bottom basement moment was I was in a hotel room in New Jersey, which is 6 hours from where I lived at the time because a lot of the traveling I did was for work at the time. So
Yep.
I wake up in a hotel room, my alarm clock goes off, I sit up, I slide to the edge of the bed, I'm lacing up my work boots. And that morning, it was like there was 10 televisions on in my head at the same time, and every single one is on a different station.
Yeah.
And one is saying you're stuck here forever. You're never going to make this kind of money again. You got lucky to get this. Do not screw this up.
Yep.
If you do work up the courage to move on from this, what are your friends going to think? What are your family going to think? Because your family
Yep.
is very proud of you for what you've accomplished. And then the loudest one for me, and I'm sure this will resonate with you,
Hmm.
what are you going to do? You're going to be a podcaster? Like that's what we're going to do. We're going to go all in on the podcast.
Hmm.
It just didn't seem
Yep.
realistic, right?
Right. Right.
So,
Especially probably compared to earning an
of
income through your
course.
job and starting a podcast where at least on the front end. Whether or
Yeah.
not you're gonna make any money, there's no clear answer to that.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, I was making anywhere from 60 to $120 an hour. And it's like, I
Yeah,
couldn't imagine leaving that behind. And I had this moment where I said, well, if I take my life, I will take all
yeah,
of these problems, all of this struggle, all of this uncertainty with me. And that
sure.
was the rock bottom basement, a great place to build, but you got to get through it. And I
Right.
ended up reaching out to who is my business partner now, my co-host now, who's just a friend, and he
Yep.
gave me some sage advice. And I ended up leaving that job 3 or 4 months later, and then beginning the journey of being a very, very broke entrepreneur podcaster.
Sure, sure. So your friend also must have made some advice in that moment to help you make that decision to
Yeah.
not take your life as well.
Yes.
So yeah, I want to emphasize that. And if anybody is ever feeling that way, they're at that point where rock bottom and feeling like they might do something to harm themselves, reach out. There's
Yes.
people out there for support. There's hotlines out there for support. So I want to just make sure we emphasize that right now.
Yes.
But so your friend calls, you make the decision to go ahead and quit your job and to move into this entrepreneurship podcaster and working alongside of him as well. So
Mm.
how does that journey get started then from basically, making a little bit of money and how, I
Mhm.
mean, for our guests out there who have no idea how somebody doing podcasts could even make money,
Yeah.
ta- talk a little bit about how that works and then also how you grew that over time to what you're doing today, which has multiple tiers to what you're offering.
Mm. Yeah, so it's interesting. I didn't know how beneficial our approach was until now.
Yeah.
I've worked with hundreds of podcasters, and
Yeah.
one of the things I always tell them is I can predict how well you're going to do depending on the podcast, but
Okay.
based on the amount of one-on-one conversations you're having with your community.
Yeah.
And that is what we did in the beginning. I would literally, in the beginning, Zach,
Yep.
long before I was even thinking about money, which in retrospect, I should have thought of sooner probably, but I would literally DM somebody and I would just say, hey, Zach, thanks so much for listening to the podcast.
Yep.
Let's hop on a call. Here's my number. Let's
Yeah.
FaceTime later. Like, what's your schedule look like? Because I just wanted to get to know the community. I wanted to get to
Sure.
understand who was listening to us, because the better
Yeah.
I understand who we're helping, the better I can help that person. So
Right.
in the very beginning, it was kind of like, I'm going to do some market research and figure out who's listening. That was
Yep.
huge. And then there's also this weird thing of, if you're listening to somebody on a podcast and then they reach out to you and then you get to like hear their voice off the podcast,
Mhm.
there's a
Yep.
weird thing that happens there. So that was beneficial as well.
Mhm.
Then I started having conversations with Alan because I said, look, we're 2 years in,
Right.
right? I have not had a job for 2 years.
Yep.
I'm $35,000 in credit card debt because I've just been living off my credit card.
Sure.
I burned through my $10,000 savings that I had. So
Yep.
I went to Alan and I said, hey man, I need to start making some money here. Like, what are
Right.
we doing? What are we
Yeah.
doing? And he said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to start coaching for free. And I was like, no,
Okay.
no, no. Did you miss the part where I said I need to start making money?
Yeah.
And he's like, Kev, you've never coached before, so nobody's really going to pay
Uh-huh.
you. It's like, okay, interesting.
Right.
So I reached out to this young lady who is a listener of our show. Her name is Jenna,
Yep.
and I said, Jenna, I'm thinking of doing some beta coaching. I've never done it. What do you think? I'll do it for free for 2 months. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
And she said yes. And I was like, all right, cool.
Okay.
Let's see how this goes. I ended up getting 4 or 5 other free clients over that
Yep.
next 2 months. At the end, I said, hey, I can't do this for free anymore. What do you think of $50 a week?
Yeah.
And then I went from making $0 to making, $250, $300 a week. And that was the very beginning of
Yep.
how we started monetizing. So as a podcaster, if you're a problem solver, quote unquote,
Yep.
podcast, the bottom of your funnel just looks like you solving more specific, more challenging problems in exchange for funds usually.
Okay. So you got started by offering what you were providing for free,
Yes.
basically. So you were able to then not only, I mean, just stepping back a little bit, you also were making those direct connections with people. So
Mm.
you were able to reach out and have one-on-one contact with people who are your listeners, find out a little bit more about them, and that became a little more personal and made them probably more connected with you as
Yeah.
well. And then when you got into the coaching element, you were able to connect with some of those listeners and begin providing support to them to that extent that, okay, this is helpful, and people were willing to pay you to do that and
Mm.
continue to do that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. See, that's the start. That's the bottom of the funnel that you're talking about. So where did it kind of go up from there?
Mm. Yeah. A lot of interesting things happened. So
Yeah.
I went all in on one-on-one coaching. Alan went all in on one-on-one coaching. And I
Okay.
think we had like 10 clients each. I was like, all right, $100 an hour, 10 clients each. Cool. That's going.
Yeah.
That went for like the first maybe 400 episodes. And
Okay.
then one of my mentors said to me, Kev, I would pay you to produce my podcast.
Yep.
And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, I've never done this. You've done 400 episodes of audio and video. You
Yep.
have social media content. I would pay you $1,000 a month to do this. I was like,
Okay.
okay, nobody else is
Hmm.
going to pay me. And
Yep.
then he actually connected me with someone who was very successful, a CEO in of a financial firm. I went and met this person at their office, and we ended up agreeing that we were going to produce his podcast.
Okay.
And that was the next real big thing for me is, okay, I am technically, quote unquote, in charge of our podcast. I'm the one who
Yeah.
I come up with the titles, I come up with the content,
Yeah.
and I oversee production. We have a team that does it, but I kind of oversee the production. The next step was, okay, now we're going to open up a production company. That was
Okay.
really the next
Yep.
big thing for us, because at the beginning of the journey, that was the biggest struggle for us.
Right.
The biggest struggle was, how do we produce all this content? So I had to learn how to audio edit. I had to learn how to video edit. All right, cool. Now we can solve that problem for other people. Then we
Yeah.
just kind of replicated that with, well, we needed a website. We didn't know how to do that. So we have somebody on our
Mhm.
team who builds websites.
Okay.
Social media is obviously important now more than ever. We have an
Right.
amazing person on our team that does social media management. So it really became, what were the pitfalls and what were the tallest walls on our journey that we can either
Yep.
knock down for people or we can help them navigate. And that's really how we've grown the business as quickly as we have.
Okay. So you were able to see the challenges that you were facing, your own areas of lacking expertise,
Mm.
figure out how to get through that, and acknowledging that a lot of other people were facing the same types of pitfalls.
Yep.
So by deploying that support to others, you're now creating some additional revenue streams essentially for
Yeah.
your business.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
We have the systems, right? So that was
Yeah.
the thought, is like,
Yeah.
we'll never charge for something that we haven't
Mhm.
replicated for ourselves. So I've had a lot of people ask me recently, how do I get more speaking gigs? And it's like,
Yeah.
honestly, I don't have the system yet. I don't know.
Yep.
I'm not entirely sure. We've gotten some, but not as many as I would like for me to advise you on that. So yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. You kind of have to develop that for yourself
Yep.
first, find the people that can help you with it, and then you're able to help others along the way.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the specific content of your podcast and your focus of in regards to Next Level University for
Mm.
somebody that doesn't know what it is that you're emphasizing, but that might have an interest in hearing a little bit more, but maybe aren't going to hit play right away. So maybe a little summary today would help them kind of see what it is that you offer.
Yeah, our thing is holistic self-improvement. So when I
Okay.
say holistic, I mean well-rounded. I
Yeah.
mean three-dimensional: health, wealth, and love.
Yep.
I achieved quote unquote financial success, but my mental health was tanked. Not good.
Sure. Right.
Right. I've had really good relationships, but I didn't take care of myself during those relationships, or
Yep.
I wasn't as focused on becoming financially free. So our
Yeah.
approach really is, we want to talk about the stuff that really matters, but we want to dig into the identity change that needs to happen in order for you to actually see results. I can give you 5 steps to save money right now, but those 5 steps to save money will not land with you if you have a subconscious aversion to money or making money or
Okay.
saving money, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
that really is it for us. We want to give you the tactics, but we also want to give you the deeper understanding to actually shift your identity, so you can take what we're saying and then use it as powerfully as possible in your life.
Yeah, yeah. No, I see what you're going with that. It definitely is something that if people might know, they might have the knowledge to do the tasks, they might
Mm,
have the skill to be able to do the job or to start the business, but without the mindset and taking a more holistic view of themselves, their ability to succeed at the level they may desire likely going to be lacking. So
yes.
being able to create that opportunity so people will listen to the podcast and they can gain some benefit from that. They can receive one-on-one coaching. Do you provide any additional support beyond that that people can access as part of your system to what you're doing?
Yeah, we have built a business where we have as many free options as we do
Mm,
paid. So
okay.
we have a book club, a free book club every
Yeah.
Saturday. Alan runs it. You will not see me
Yep.
at the book club because that's Alan's baby. I'm not
Sure.
allowed. We have a free course. We have a Facebook group. We do
Yeah.
monthly events for free. So yeah, if you get in our community, if you get in our orbit, whether you're somebody who has a lot of money and a high level of a self-improvement set point, or somebody
Yep.
who is struggling financially and you're very new to self-improvement, there is somewhere for you in our business, and there is somewhere for you to go as the next step as well.
Perfect. I like that. I mean, I've seen a lot of people that offer a free webinar, but maybe that's the only item
Mm,
that somebody can access. Before then, you have to get into some type of a paid
yeah,
element to be able to gain any advantage of the information shared.
yeah,
So I like what you're
I
offering. I
appreciate
think
it.
that that's something that people need and would benefit from. So I want to ask a question in regards to, and this probably comes out a little bit in what you've already said, but if a new entrepreneur or somebody who's interested in starting their own business comes to you and says, Kevin, I'm just not sure where to get started with some of this stuff. Not necessarily specifics in regards to, if it's a plumber or somebody like they clearly know the skill set,
Mm.
but what do you tell them? What are some of the tips that you would give somebody who is interested in starting a business and just wants to do so on the right foot?
Yeah, and I mean, the number one question is, why do you want to do it?
Okay.
Really, for me, because in the beginning, it's most likely going to suck horribly. And
Okay.
and maybe not, maybe you'll get lucky and you'll hit a stride, maybe.
Uh-huh.
But I think 9 times out of 10, it's the beginning is really, really hard, and you're going to have to fall back on, I
Yeah.
love this regardless of results.
Yep.
So that is the first thing I would say. Second thing I would say is, you have to be very familiar, or you have to become very familiar with what you are wildly good at and
Okay.
what you just aren't good at.
Yep.
That way you can double, triple, quadruple down on what you're really good at. And then you can either shore up your weaknesses with support, with
Yep.
delegation, or with knowledge. So those are two. And then the
Yeah.
third thing, and a lot of people, I don't know, not a lot of people like when I say this, but this is what I always tell people. You have to start making relationships immediately.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
if you're going to build so say you're going to have a cookie store,
Yep.
awesome. Have have a Facebook page, have all the social media, but you got to most likely get out in your community, and you have to
Hmm.
have a launch, and you have to give away a bunch of free cookies, and you go to the school and give free cookies, and you go to the fire
Yep.
station and give free cookies, you go to the police station. It's that level of relationship in the beginning that I
Yeah.
think a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of. And a lot of the advice you're getting from the higher business coaches, they're not saying that because that's not how they built theirs.
Sure.
So it's just a different
Yeah.
perspective that I think is very valuable for most people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that perspective. And it relates to what you had stated in regards to your podcast and
Yeah.
establishing those relationships with your community. I can see the value added in that. And I like the example of the cookies and giving them out at the police station, the fire station, and other places to be able to make those connections with
Yeah.
others because they could go to the other store instead, who they've known for much longer. And they may not see you on social media. So they're
Right.
not going to necessarily just reach out because of a post that you just did
Yeah.
when you don't have any relationship. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. And then our $1 million question, if you were to be given $1 million today, no strings attached to invest in your business or another endeavor you're working on, what would you do with that and why?
Oh man. I would probably take excuse me.
Yeah.
I would take $250,000 and put it away. I would just
Okay.
leave 250,000 in savings. I
Yep.
would take $250,000 for myself to raise my lifestyle.
Hmm.
I'd probably
Okay.
get a new car or several new cars, and there's a
Sure.
reason behind that, I'd give
Mhm.
$250,000 to Alan so he could raise his lifestyle,
Yep.
and then $250,000 to invest in team. Because at the end of the day,
Okay.
the team and the technology is one of the reasons that, we're going to grow at the rate we want to grow. But I just,
Yeah.
at this point, I've realized that it's not, unfortunately, and you can take this too far, for most of us,
Sure.
it's about what you can show, not about what you know,
Mhm.
because people connect the dots of what you know when you show stuff that's really nice. So
Yep.
we're at the stage now where I believe so much in what we know. I know we're valuable human beings. We're
Mhm.
consistent. We show up every day. But unless I have
Yep.
the true markers of success, you'll probably never think I'm actually as valuable as I am. It's a weird
Mm.
place to be. But
Yeah.
that's why I would
Yep.
spend the money on, I'd go get $150,000 car and
Sure.
maybe, maybe I get a giraffe.
Yeah. Because nothing speaks of success more
That's what
than a
I'm
giraffe.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
If there's people wanting to get a leopard or a a cheetah or something, but a giraffe isn't likely to bite you, so I
It's
think that's
really
not a bad
different.
idea.
Yeah. Have you ever
Yeah.
met anybody who had a giraffe? No. No, right?
No, no, definitely not, definitely not. So I like that, and I see what you mean too. Watching others as they've taken on their journey, as they put themselves out there and attract attention to what they're offering. Like you said, you have a lot of knowledge and experience to offer somebody, but you do need something to show that there's a reason why they want to connect with you.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is stuff in the day and age in which we live
Yeah.
and the way that we sometimes make those connections. People have to see something. There's something different there. And I know a guy right now, I can think of somebody who's a lot of pictures are with a very nice boat that he has,
Mm.
and riding in that boat, it attracts attention. So
Yeah.
definitely.
It's human psychology. I think
Yeah.
what I've worked with so many people where I say the same thing of, I understand you want people to know what you know, but
Yeah.
that's how you're helping them. They don't know what you
Right.
know, but they can kind of connect the dots. You can close the gap of awareness based on what you have. Now,
Sure.
I think there's a couple different types of people. I think some people overmarket
Mm.
their
Yeah.
skills, and then I think people
Sure.
undermarket their skills. We tend to
Yeah.
undermarket our skills. So if when I said that it triggered you and you're thinking, "Oh my goodness, this guy is terrible." It's not from that perspective. It's more
No.
of I know that we're valuable and we've helped so many people, but we'd never get somebody who would just come across my social media page and be like, "Oh my goodness, that person can help me in this way, this way, this way." It just
Yeah.
doesn't work like that yet.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's understandable. And I know from your beginning of this, when you started and you were offering information for free, you spent 2 years putting out content before you really began to monetize. Even
Mm.
when you did start that, you were offering coaching for free. This is a topic that is on your heart. It's not just something that you're doing because you can see the dollar sign. So
Right.
I think there's a lot of value in somebody comes at it with that mindset.
I
So I
appreciate it.
appreciate that.
Of
Yes,
course.
absolutely. Now, if somebody wants to reach out to you to find out more about what you're doing, what's the best way for someone to connect with you?
I would say number one, just check out the podcast. We do an episode
Okay.
every day. So you'll either
Yep.
love us or hate us. And you'll tell quickly because we do so much content. And then
Yeah.
if you want to reach out to me directly, questions, comments, concerns, anything, you can either send me a message on Instagram. My handle is
Okay.
at never quit kid, or my email is kevin@nextleveluniverse.com.
Okay. At Never Quit Kid on Instagram
That's
or
me.
Kevin at nextleveluniverse.com. Okay. Definitely check out the podcast, Next Level University. I am certain that you will find something that you can get out of that is positive. And so, I've not actually listened to Alan speak myself, so I'm gonna have to listen to it as well and get on there because I know that you guys offer something that I can gain from it, and so I'm excited to explore your content as
Thank
well. So
I appreciate it, my friend.
yes, absolutely. Thank you very much for your time today, Kevin. I appreciate your journey and really being vulnerable and open to sharing that at the point at which you got to that rock bottom basement and being able to make that step to get back out of that. And I want to send appreciation to Alan too for being there to support you during
Mm.
that time and encourage you to step up and continue to move forward.
I will send your love his way. Thank you for the kind words.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time as well. This was wonderful. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, take care.